In several areas, there are three countries that have developed their own dynamic, for example in Aachen or Basel. Not so the region between Lithuania, Latvia and Belarus, with its eventful history. The people there weren't always as strange as today. Zarazai is a charming town in the middle of the forests and lakes of eastern Lithuania. The border with its EU neighbor Latvia runs on the outskirts of the city, almost invisible. It has been so many times in the past. For example, in the Polish-Lithuanian Noble Republic from the middle of the 16th century to the end of the 18th century. This federation of states, which stretched from the Baltic Sea to the Black Sea, was officially called Union. Kęstutis Wasilewskis from the Zarazai Regional Museum almost mourns it. This union was something innovative and adventurous, a republic with parts of the territories of Belarus and Ukraine, almost a kind of a prototype for the European Union, even if you no longer perceive it that way today. The old Union dissolved in 1795. Lithuanians and Latvians became subject of the Russian Empire. In 1918, the republics of Lithuania and Latvia emerged from the bankrupt state. But in 1940, they lost their independence again and were incorporated into the Soviet Union. This again made the Lithuanian-Latvian border meaningless. Zarazai and its surroundings got a regional center in Latvia in the form of the city of Daugavpils, 30 kilometers away. Lithuanian Dalia Saguniene remembers her visits to Soviet times. You went to concerts, to the theater, it's a big city. We went for a walk there and I found it interesting to see how the neighbors lived, she says. Back then the traffic connections were also much better. If you had to ask something, you did it in Russian, because in Daugavpils the majority is Russian speaking. But we Lithuanians think that the Latvians are our Baltic sisters, we are similar. After the end of the Soviet Union, Latvia and Lithuania separated again. You were abroad for each other again. Checks were made right behind Zarazai. Since 2007, you have been a neighbor in the Schengen area. The border is open again. Nevertheless, the rapprochement is slow, observes Kęstutis Wasilewskis from the museum in Zarazai. I don't know anyone who commutes from Zarazai to Daugavpils, he says. For me, Daugavpils is interesting as the next biggest city and because of its old architecture. I do not have the feeling that you are right there in Latvia. Daugavpils is a little bit different. We always scoff at something that ends Europe. Daugavpils is the second largest Latvian city after Riga. However, Latvians only make up a fifth of the population in Daugavpils. The majority are ethnic Russians. Poles, Belarusians and other ethnic groups also live there. They maintain their own cultural centers, even the Latvians. A curiosity, says Rimantas Kiepsis, director of the Lithuanian Center. It's actually absurd. You won't find anything like it anywhere else in the world. In Daugavpils, here in Latvia, there's a Latvian society because we live in a predominantly Russian-speaking city. Daugavpils was founded in the 13th century by German knights under the name Dunaburg. The historical section of the Daugavpils Regional Museum is headed by Valentina Slakowska. She shows us the permanent exhibition with a model of Dunaburg from before the city fell to Poland-Lithuania at the end of the 16th century. The fact that we have belonged to Poland-Lithuania for centuries has made our region different from the rest of Latvia, partly due to the great influence of the Catholic Church, says Slavkovska. After the end of the Noble Republic, Daugavpils came to the Vitebsk Governorate in Russia. In this respect, we are historically connected to this region in Belarus. Since the Tsarist era, more and more Russian speakers have come to the city, and that still shapes the city today. Despite some war damage, a lot of historical buildings have been preserved in Daugavpils, including the citadel and an old synagogue. Valentina Slavkovska explains that one is proud of this legacy, which many Latvians would not know so well. Guests from Riga find us out of the way, because it takes 4 hours to drive. Many Latvians have never been there, she said. But when they do come, they find Daugavpils beautiful, unique and exciting. For Latvia, the border triangle and Daugavpils are on the periphery. The equivalent on the Lithuanian side is the city of Visaginas. For the Lithuanians, it is almost like a foreign body. In the 1970s, the construction of a nuclear power plant began on the shores of Lake Drukšiai, and the whole city was built with Visaginas. The employees moved from the entire Soviet Union to the generously planned prefabricated housing estate. The nuclear power plant closed in 2009, but the diverse population of Visaginas has already developed a sense of community, says Oksana Denisenko from the city's cultural center. The unifying element is that the majority have immigrated, but otherwise Visaginas is a complete atypical Lithuanian city in the sense that the Lithuanians are a minority, maybe 20%, says Denisenko. And they border Latvia and Belarus, but they have a completely different sense of self than Daugavpils, and there are no daily contacts with Belarus. The once close neighborly relations between Lithuanians and Belarusians have suffered from the post-Soviet reorganization. Tatiana Dimitrieva runs the local tourism center in Visaginas, Lithuania. Her parents came from Belarus and she fondly remembers her carefree childhood without the well-guarded EU external border, which now runs directly through Lake Druzhia. We had a little house by the lake and my grandfather came to Lithuania by boat across the lake and took me over to the Belarusian shore because there was no border at the time, says Dimitrieva. Today we need a visa to visit and there are queues. Without the controls we could do it in 40 minutes, but often you have to wait a long time. We only go there a couple of times a year. Lithuania and Latvia can grow together again in the border triangle. With Belarus it is more difficult. If you want to go there from Visaginas, you have to make a long detour. Lena Bushko from the Center for Economic Development in Visaginas is thinking about how to revive the old direct neighborhood. If new factories open in Visaginas now, there will definitely be a labor shortage here. Then we should finally make it possible for Belarusians to go here quickly, she says. There is even an idea to build a cable car over the lake. It would be very good for workers and tourism. And if you now want to know more about European politics from a German point of view, YouTube has chosen another of my videos right here in the end screen, right next to your chance to subscribe to my channel. I'll see you in my next video. Click and enjoy. Viel Spaß!